The dog. Man's best friend. Loyal, compassionate, and always happy to see you home. But what goes into making a good dog? Or rather, a well-trained dog? Somehow the dog must learn right from wrong and good from bad. In operant conditioning, we learn to associate a response and its consequence, and thus to repeat acts followed by good results and avoid acts followed by bad results. Basically, we want the subject to demonstrate a behavior, and the behavior will be rewarded negatively or positively. In this video, we will decide whether or not operant conditioning is successful in training. Let me introduce you to our subject. Meet Jovie. She's our 2-year-old lab pointer mix, and we started conditioning her at 12 weeks. It is crucial to start conditioning when the dog is young and still learning to live in its environment. From the beginning, we spent lots of time building trust, teaching her commands, and giving her positive reinforcements. Interestingly enough, we were completely unaware of the psychology behind all the training. Now, classical conditioning is the foundation of operant conditioning, obtaining an innate response from a subject by providing a stimulus. Now basically, you will be able to tell some physical response from the subject when you show it something it likes or dislikes. And all that's required from classical conditioning is that the subject can experience pain or pleasure. For example, we will now introduce a stimulus to Jovie to see if it triggers a response. The stimulus will be a dog treat. It's a positive reward and something the dog is very interested in receiving. As you can see, once the stimulus is introduced, the dog sits up straight, salivating, with its ears wide open, waiting for a command. Let's get a quick history lesson here. This is Ivan Pavlov. He was a Russian doctor who laid the foundation in exploring classical conditioning. He was the first Russian to win the Nobel Prize, and his work is still taught in psychology classes around the world. Now what he's most famous for is his classic experiment. Pavlov knew that food would trigger his dog to salivate, the food being an unconditioned stimulus, and the salivation being an unconditioned response. He then designed this experiment. During conditioning, he presented a neutral stimulus, the tone, just before an unconditioned stimulus, food in the mouth. The neutral stimulus then became a conditioned stimulus, producing a conditioned response. The dog would salivate. Now that we understand classical conditioning, what's the difference between operant? It's one thing to classically condition a dog to salivate at the sound of a tone, but to teach a dog to sit, shake, and roll over, we must turn to a different type of learning. This is operant conditioning. Using food or the same treat stimulus, a dog will learn almost any task or direction to obtain the treat. The key, however, is to follow through with positive reinforcement. Whether it's a treat, a pat on the head, or both, the dog needs to be rewarded immediately after it displays the correct behavior. Now you can apply this method to simple tricks or elaborate ones. For example, we taught Jovie how to turn the lights off so we don't need to get out of bed. The benefit of using operant conditioning is the ability it gives you to shape the dog's behavior. For example, in this experiment, we put the stimulus on the ground in front of Jovie and tell her to stay. This is the positive behavior we're looking for. If a squirrel runs out into the middle of the street, you want your dog to stay and listen to the command. Through repeated conditioning, Jovie knows the command, and also that if she listens, she will be positively rewarded. But furthermore, if she disobeys, the treat will be taken away, thus the negative reinforcement. So is operant conditioning successful in training a dog? I would say yes. However, the downside is that a dog can be trained to be violent, skittish, angry, or afraid. If negative reinforcement is used in excess, the dog will not behave like a well-trained animal. But furthermore, if the dog is only positively reinforced, it will know no consequences for its actions. This can result in the dog going through the trash, chewing on furniture, and all the classic examples of a bad dog. The key in this is to use both reinforcements wisely, and I trust that if you do, your dog will be a great addition to your family, just like Jovie.